Hello everybody, it's Kara from Wild Book Garden, and today I'm here to do kind of a chatty get ready with me with a sort of loose theme. Basically, it's just gonna be like summer vibes. I'm gonna be recommending some books that I just really love, but also if you are somebody who sometimes likes to add in some seasonal reading, then I thought these would be maybe especially appropriate this time of year if you are in the Northern Hemisphere. But honestly, like, I love these books, so all year round I would recommend them. I do have my fan on, so I really hope that's not too distracting. I always do put captions on my videos, so please feel free to turn those on. And yeah, as I always say when I do this sort of like kind of series, like the books and beauty stuff, which is basically just I do my makeup and I talk about books in some way. I don't really know what I'm doing, I just like doing it. So I am not a beauty guru, this is not a tutorial. We're just gonna like hang out, grab a drink, grab a snack. I have my iced coffee here and also water because hydration is important. So let's go ahead, and I think what has worked best for me is if I like mention the specific products at the beginning so that as I put on the makeup we can just kind of chat about the books. So I think that's what I'm gonna do today. So what I consider the boring stuff, I'll talk about really quickly first. So for eyeshadow primer, I'm either going to use the Milani one and or the Bella Beauty Bar Shimmer Stay. This is like really good for certain kinds of shimmery eyeshadows. The mascara that I am mainly using right now is the highly rated Anti-Gravity Mascara from Milani. I do really like this one. It's not, like, I'm not loving it as much as I thought I would, and I don't feel like I have especially bad lashes, or like I don't feel like they need a ton of help, so it's a little frustrating that I'm not like in love with that mascara, but it's definitely the best one I've tried recently. I'm still using that same Wet n Wild eyebrow pencil that like I'm not even sure if they make anymore. Like I've been using this for so long because like it doesn't really go bad in the same way that other products do, I feel like. And I know a lot of people go through brow products really frequently, but I don't. Like I guess I just don't put a lot in my brow, but it's like that's one of the things people always talk about in like Empty's videos is like, oh, I always have a bunch of eyebrow stuff to talk about, and I just like can't relate. Okay, for foundation, I think I'm going to use my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Stick Foundation. I am in the shade Alabaster. And then for primer, I think I'm just gonna use this Milani one that I got. It was as part of a set. Like I never would have bought this myself, and it's like it looks almost like a liquid bronzer, but it's not. Like I don't use bronzer. It's just like a kind of glowy, slightly bronzy, like glowy primer basically. I don't think I'm going to use a setting powder because I have dry skin, and it's like I all of a sudden realized that I don't have to use a setting powder just because a lot of people do. Okay, what am I gonna use? I think for blush and highlight, I'm gonna use, I really haven't used these enough. These are the Color Wash and Color Sheen palettes from, what is it? What was the original name? I think it was like Musée or something, like Musée Brute. And then they rebranded to Kylab, and then they actually went out of business, so I don't think you can get these anymore. But I just want to get more use out of them, so they have a couple of different ones. This is Modernity and Paris, so they look really dark, but it's like a light kind of cream blush. And then Airy and Ambient is like the cream highlight, so I think that's what I'm gonna do for my cheeks. And now what I consider the most exciting stuff is lips and eyeshadow. So I think for lipstick, I'm gonna plan to use this lipstick and lip gloss from Glamlight from their Strawberry Shortcake collection. I have used these both before and I really like them. And then for eyeshadow, my favorite part of the makeup process, my plan is that I'm going to be mainly using my Gavisi Beauty Single Shadows. This is like the palette that I guess like put together, you know, so there's not really a cohesive color scheme other than a lot of sparkle and a lot of green, since I love green. But yeah, so I'm going to be mainly working from this, and then if I need some other colors to kind of ground it, especially more matte colors, I'm gonna use my pretty new Sweetheart palette from Lurella Beauty. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Lurella. So that was a lot of talking for like no book discussion yet. So I'm just gonna get in and get started, and I'm just gonna start working through my list, okay? My hope for this kind of video is that if you are somebody who can enjoy, you know, makeup content, that'll be like a fun element. But if you're not somebody who's into that at all, then hopefully the book recommendations will still be fun. Okay, and a couple of these on my list, like I do have a few contemporaries on here. I feel like that's something that people tend to assume for like summer book recommendations, but I only have a few because I think there's actually a lot of other kinds of books that you can read during the summer. And a few of these take place actually during the summer, but not all of them do. Okay, so the first one I want to recommend is This Is How We Fly by Anna Mariano. I just realized that I'm going to be using a very interesting combination of a mirror in my viewfinder, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, This Is How We Fly by Anna Mariano. I won't spend too much time on this one specifically because I like just recently talked about it for my favorite contemporaries of last year, but I love this one so much. I love Anna Mariano. I feel like her contemporaries are really underappreciated, and I think that's a shame. I love them. I really love her way of writing characters and relationships. This one has a lot of really complex family dynamics, and it's kind of a loose Cinderella retelling, so that makes sense. And I just thought that was handled beautifully. I love the friendship. It's about our main character, Ellen, who is really like struggling over the summer. I think it's like the summer before she goes to college, because like a lot of her high school friends are kind of like, she's worried that they're like growing out of their friendship, and she feels kind of lost. She doesn't really know like what to do, and like she really misses these people that she's close to. And one of her friends kind of ropes her into participating in what is now called quad ball, like a local league sort of. And at first Ellen is like really not about that. She doesn't want to. She's like, this is weird, no. But she ends up really loving it, and she ends up like finding a real community there. And it's a really like inclusive book, and it's on the longer side. I feel like overall contemporaries have gotten longer over time, and I usually don't like that trend, but I just love Anna Mariano's writing so much that it's like I would read like any length of book from her, I think. So it didn't feel long to me. And also, something I mentioned in the video where I recommended this one, or like the favorites video, is I feel like I was seeing a lot of people complain about the writing style, saying that it wasn't, like the writing was kind of bland, and I really think the problem is that people were going into it like expecting it to be written like something it's not, you know? Like I think a lot of times when people complain about the writing in a contemporary book, what they're really kind of saying is that it's not written like a fantasy, which like, yeah, because it's not. So that's my 2 cents on that. But I just really love that one, and I really loved Ellen as a main character. Then I want to talk about, after I figure out what brush I want to use here, I really love T. Kingfisher. You guys know this. And one of the ones that I read, it might have been the first one I read from her actually, is Bryony and Roses. Sorry if I'm looking down, I have my notes here. And this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. She has several fairy tale retellings, and I love this one. I think this is like a great kind of example of the things that I think T. Kingfisher does best, because it's like a very creative take on this kind of story. She does these like really great, practical, wonderful heroines. I personally think that she tends to write romance very well. There is one book I read from her recently that I didn't care for, which you'll see in an upcoming wrap-up. But this one, I loved the romance. I love that the Beauty and the Beast character actually spend a lot of time getting to know each other, as opposed to like the original fairy tale or some of the retellings. There's like a lot of gardening in this one that's really fun, and there's also some like very creepy moments, which I feel like T. Kingfisher is really good at like incorporating those as well. So if you've been looking for a place to start with T. Kingfisher, I think that could be a good one. And now I might need to stop talking for a moment as I figure out what I want to do with my blush. Okay, so I'm taking a little bit of that Paris color. It's like the brighter kind of one. And I'm just sort of blending a little bit at a time onto my cheeks, you know, where blush goes. Okay, as I'm doing that, I also want to talk about The Rose Legacy by Jessica Day George. This is the first book in a trilogy, and I just love Jessica Day George for cozy middle grade or young adult fantasy, kind of like middle grade into young adult, like definitely on the younger end, which I don't think is a problem, but some people don't like, so I wanted to mention it. And I always say when I recommend this series that, like, if you're like a horse expert, you're probably going to be frustrated with some parts of it because of, I guess there's like some inaccuracies or just like things that really probably wouldn't happen that way. I do not know much about horses at all, so I was fine, but I just wanted to like give that little warning there. But yeah, I just love how cozy her books are, not because like nothing bad ever happens, but they're just like, she writes like good people who are doing their best and who are finding other good people to like help them. Like, it's just, I love the friendships and I love the way she writes family dynamics. I won't get into too much of like the premise for this one, but basically it's a fantasy where we're following a main character who is sent off to live with like some distant family, and she's actually really afraid because they have a horse farm. They live like right on the edge of the kingdom, and in this world the horses are believed to be the source of this really bad plague that broke out a few years ago. And so our main character is like understandably very concerned about that, and it's just about her like settling in there, becoming more comfortable around the horses, and like just learning more about the world and history and like the kingdom. And it's all in this really like gentle way. Like, I just, her books, Jessica Day George's books, just make me so happy. And for whatever reason, The Rose Legacy just gives me like that summer vibe. Maybe because I think I started reading the series in the summer, but it's just a lovely time. And then for a completely different vibe, I want to recommend Untamed Shore by Silvia Moreno Garcia. You guys know that I am a Silvia Moreno Garcia stan at this point. I don't use that word lightly, but like truly, I think it's applicable here. Ooh, that's really pretty. I'm glad I'm using these. Yeah, so Untamed Shore is her kind of like, how would you describe this? It's not a thriller. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like a suspense, sort of. It's like a slow build kind of thriller, which is not for everybody. And I understand that, but as somebody who is not usually into thrillers or mysteries, I loved this one because so much of the focus is on the characters and the atmosphere and that building tension. Yeah, so we're following our main character, Viridiana, and she lives in Baja California. And her kind of job is like, she always does these like touristy things over the summer. This one I think actually is set during the summer. And one day she ends up getting sought out by this group of American tourists to be kind of like their sort of like live-in tour guide. And she doesn't really want to, but she does want the money. She does like need the money, understandably. So she decides to like take them up on the offer. And she ends up getting brought into their like family drama and this like really dangerous but like intriguing like world that they live in, like sort of like their society and everything. And things end up getting very dangerous because a dead body turns up and it looks like they may be implicated. And yeah, I don't want to say like too much about it, but I thought this was really well done. I know this is not one of her more popular books, and again, I think if you're like a mystery thriller person who wants like fast-paced, lots of twists, you know, ending comes out of nowhere, I don't think this is gonna work for you. But if you're not usually into those sort of things, I think this is really good. And like, I think this is one of the books that really solidified this author for me as like, I will read anything she writes basically, like regardless of genre, because I do not like thrillers. So yeah, I just really enjoyed this one. Okay friends, I think I'm just about ready to move on to the eyeshadow part, what I consider the most exciting part. And I'm about halfway through my list, so I think that works out very well. Okay, so next on my list, I have the Time series by Megan Morrison. This is one that I have a whole spoiler-free review for the series, so I will link that. But I am so impressed with this series. I really want Megan Morrison to write other things because I just think she's incredibly talented and underappreciated. But this is a series of fairy tale retellings that do that kind of, they do something that I think is so interesting, which is like, they seem very like light and sweet and kind of like whimsical and fun and quirky, and like there are parts like that, but there's also a lot of darkness in these that the books really deal with. Like they confront that head on. Like the first book deals a lot with like toxic or emotionally abusive family relationships. The second book deals with like labor conditions and workers' rights. The third book deals with like kind of like a fantasy version of like GMOs and like the responsibility government has to its people, and there's also like a murder mystery. Like, I just think that they are a perfect balance of tone for me. And I also just really, really love her characters and her writing style. Yeah, like I think like as retellings, they are so fun and interesting and creative. And I think she does an amazing job with the arcs of the protagonists, especially in the first book and the third book. I think a lot of people give up on the series because the first book is a Rapunzel retelling, and Rapunzel has been in a tower her whole life, so she's very naive, and that doesn't bother me because it makes total sense why she is that way. But if that is something that you have not much patience for, I guess that could be, you know, a problem. I would just say, like, I know it's really annoying when people are like, oh, just push through. But I would just say that if you are interested in the story, but you're frustrated with Rapunzel, you know, try to keep going, because I think the payoff is so good. And I think, like, the character development is very intentional. I have no idea what I'm doing with this eyeshadow look, so we're just gonna go where our heart takes us. Even if it does not match my top at all. That's just where we're at, okay? Alright, next on my list, I have another one that I won't spend too much time on because it was also in my favorite contemporaries of 2022 video, and that is Where the Rhythm Takes You by Sarah Doss. I love this. This is a persuasion retelling set in Tobago, and as I always say, it is the only persuasion retelling I acknowledge. It is the only one I have ever enjoyed. I think it is such a smart, like, modern updating of that story. I love Raina as the main character. I think the way this book handles the, like, difficulties of their past relationship is really smart. And I also think this book, like, the way it looks at grief and, like, the loss of somebody who you maybe had a more complicated relationship with than you thought, and also, like, people deciding when they think you should move on. Like, I just think all of that was very interesting, in addition to being this really wonderful kind of like summery feeling story. Trying to decide what other color. Should we do some green? Should we just, like, go for it with the, like, absolutely wild rainbow? I think we should. Oh yeah, that's gonna be very chaotic, but I like it. Okay, so I also, this next one I'm gonna recommend is, like, a very tentative recommendation because, like, this has such a low average rating. Like, nobody seems to like this book except me, and this is also one of the ones I talked about in that video. And it is Serendipity, which is edited by Marissa Meyer, and it's 10 romantic tropes transformed. So it's a bunch of different authors who all take a different like romantic trope, and they write a contemporary short story, like a contemporary romance short story about it. And I just loved this. Like, I just really enjoyed all of the stories. There are some that I liked more than others, but I consistently liked all of them, which is pretty rare in short story collections, I feel. And I like the fact that this worked for me so well when so many of the stories are friends to lovers, which you guys know is not usually my thing. I just think that's really impressive. I loved Anna Marie McLemore's story. I really liked Julie Murphy's. Marissa Meyer had a really good one. I think Caleb Roehrig had one I really enjoyed, and I hadn't read from him before. This was the first time I read from Leah Johnson, so, like, there was just a lot of things that I really enjoyed about this. I think if you're looking for an overall lighthearted collection of YA romances, I would definitely recommend this one. Again, a lot of people don't like it, so I don't even really know who I am, like, speaking to as I recommend this, but I enjoyed it. And it's definitely one that feels very summery to me. And also, I want to mention, for my, like, Southern Hemisphere people, I actually really enjoy reading like contemporaries or summery books, like, in the winter as well, so that might be an option you guys can think about. I'm sure that's already occurred to you, but, you know, seasonal reading can mean a lot of different things. Okay, I really like how that's looking, actually. Always nice when that happens. I feel like I want to add some color around the edges here. Because we don't have enough color going on right now, right? This is when I get out my really pretty little mirror. This is from the Anastasia show. It's hard to show you because it's basically mirrored on the outside, but I love it. Okay, what color do I want to add? I might do... don't really want to do pink, so I might do like this burgundy. I might do either All Mine or Passion from this palette, so either one of these two, I think. We're gonna see. Maybe I'll do Hugs instead. That's more of like a reddish raspberry color, which would match my top a lot better. So I'm gonna figure that out as I talk about the last book I'm recommending, which is one that I actually reread very recently, so you'll see that coming up. If that's not already in a wrap-up that has gone up, you will see that very soon. But that's King and the Dragonflies by Case and Callender. I reread this because it was part of my Not a Genre book club that I host, and my wonderful guest for this episode was Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophes, and this was a reread for me, and it was a new book for her, and it was just like, I love this book so much. It is a middle grade contemporary dealing with homophobia and racism and the intersection of those things, but it still has the appropriate amount of like hope and love. Like, this book really deals with grief and the complications of, again, like losing somebody who has also hurt you but who you love so deeply. Sorry if that tapping noise is annoying, but I'm just like tapping off the extra eyeshadow because I don't want to go too intense too fast. Oh yes, I really like this. This was a very chaotic color combination, but I really like how it's looking, and that's what matters, right? I realize I'm probably like holding the mirror in front of my face so you can't even see this, which is what always happens when I try and do these. So like, mad respect to actual beauty gurus. So yeah, King and the Dragonflies, it's one of those that I would recommend even if, like, let's say you do read middle grade but you don't usually read middle grade contemporaries, or let's say that you do read contemporaries but not usually like middle grade ones. I feel like this is a book I could still recommend even for people who aren't usually into that kind of combination, because I just think it is so well executed and just so beautifully done. The writing is wonderful. It's like very like smooth and like poetic in a way, but not like overly flowery or descriptive. The characterization is wonderful. I think that like the main friendship here is so good. Like, I just think that this is such a like tender and beautiful book, and I think it is such an important one for readers of any age, but especially kids, to know that they are not alone and that they are loved, and that there are people out there who love and accept them, and there are also people in their lives who maybe don't understand right away, but they still love them and they will figure out the rest as they go. I just think that is an incredibly beautiful and important message, and y'all know I love a good execution of a theme. You know, like that's definitely one of the elements that can really affect my feelings on a book, and I just think this one is beautifully done. Would definitely recommend, and I will also link the live show that we did where we really discussed that book in depth, because I just think it's amazing. Okay, so those are all of the books that I was gonna cover, so now I'm just gonna keep working on my makeup look here. And yeah, what do I think maybe I'll leave that. I think that's like enough color for now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do my mascara and brows off camera, because like there's not really, like, I can't talk when I do mascara anyway, so I'm just gonna like turn the camera off, and then we will come back for lips and the final look. Okay, my loves, we are back. So I did make a little adjustment to the lighting so that I think you can see the makeup a little bit better. I did my mascara and my brows, and I also sprayed my setting spray. Where did I put it? So I've been using this one from Clarity Cosmetics. It's their Mist Glow setting spray, and I like it so far. Also, I was complaining, or not complaining, I guess, but when I was talking about this Milani mascara at the beginning, I was kind of like so-so on it. Like, I liked it, but you know, not as much as I was hoping to. And actually, I don't know if I was just like not applying it very well before, but like I really like how it looks. I think it actually looks really nice, so I take it back, okay? So let's go ahead and finish up with lips. So I think I decided that I think I want to do a lip liner first, just to make everything look more put together. This might be too dark, but it was like the only kind of reddish one that I have here with me. So I'm gonna use the Perfectionist lip pencil from Melt, and this is in the shade, I can't tell you what it is, Corazon. It's from their Amor y Mariposas collection, which I really enjoy. I'm not like a big fan of like wooden pencils as opposed to like automatic ones, but we're gonna work with it. And then the lipstick from Glamlight, it's this really pretty, like, sort of like raspberry red pink. I think it's gonna look really nice with the top I'm wearing, and I don't think there's a shade name on it. It's just the strawberry shortcake one. Then we're just gonna finish off with a little bit of that gloss, which is I think more on like the reddish side, but it's a sheer color, so I think it's all gonna work. Okay, I think that looks really nice. I think this came together. A lot of chaotic colors on the eyeshadow, but you know, what else is new? That's kind of how I roll. Excuse me as I throw everything back into my makeup bags. So this is the finished look. Let me get in a little closer so you can see, but I think it came out really nice. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was kind of fun. You know, doing a get ready with me as I recommend some books. If nothing else, I hope you enjoyed hearing about the book recommendations, but you know, for those of you who like books and makeup, I hope you enjoyed that part as well. And yeah, like I really enjoy doing these kinds of combination videos, and I think they're a fun way to do kind of more recommendation style videos in a way that I don't get so like caught up in having to describe everything like in a very specific way, you know? Like I think it's nice to have more casual content, as I've been saying, and I feel like the way I tend to do other videos doesn't leave as much room for that. So basically this is my very rambly way of saying I'm probably gonna do more concept videos like this where I do my makeup and I do some kind of themed book recommendations. So hopefully you guys are interested in that. I actually have another video's worth of summer book recommendations, so maybe I'll do that one next. But yeah, let me know if you have read and enjoyed any of these books. Let me know if you're interested in any of them. Do you like read different things in the summertime? I feel like I tend to be a seasonal reader more for like fall and winter. But that being said, I have actually been reading quite a few contemporaries lately, so maybe I do this and I just don't always realize it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!